Hey, it's time for TV Skywriter.
Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to TV Skywriter. I'm Pat Murray, your host, and today's guest has had at least a 3-year quest. He'll correct me if I'm wrong. Alfredo Tigolo. He is, let me just have you introduce yourself, Alfredo, because you don't have an official title, so to speak. So introduce yourself, sir.
Hi, my name is Alfredo Tigolo, and I'm actually a person that helps live stream for churches, for my local church actually, and I've been actually doing it for over a year now, but I've been learning about it for past 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
I guess. It could be longer because I did get introduced to live video around 2011, but they didn't actually start streaming my church until 2016. So that's,
Awesome. Well,
yeah.
I wanted you to introduce yourself. Now, we are both members. It's not really a club, but we all kind of hang out. Eileen and Pam, Robert, Fraser, Terry. We all kind of hang out and help out each other in appear.in and also Facebook. And Alfredo has been improving and exploring and trying to figure out the best way to live stream his church's activities and services. And let's throw a gigantic shout out to your church. What's the name of your church?
The name of the church is called Inglewood Southside Christian Church, located at the city of Inglewood. It's a nice small little church, and I've been praising and worshiping there since I think I joined around 2004. So
Awesome. And that
so
is in California.
it is in California, yes.
Yeah. So did you start? Okay, so you started out, I'm sure, as just a regular parishioner, right? And how did you get interested in helping your church go beyond its borders, so to speak, in terms of space and time? How did you get the interest to help them share the word online?
When I first actually joined around 2004, I was actually joined in the sound ministry. So I was helping volunteer with the soundboard stuff. And then around 2011, I think I was exploring creating a social media account for myself,
Mm-hmm.
and then later transitioned that social media account to kind of help broadcast what my church does online. So
Let's go back to when you were doing sound. Back in 2004, were you using cassettes or CDs?
we were actually recording on cassette tape back then. We didn't transition to CDs, I think around maybe 2010, 2011. I don't remember when we actually got a CD burner, but yes, we did. We were doing cassette tapes when people wanted copies. We would duplicate cassette tapes back then.
Yeah, it was a very big deal when Russell Memorial Church here in Durham, North Carolina, when they went from cassettes to CDs. It was a very big deal, very big deal. So you got interested in social media. When you say social media, are you talking about Facebook or YouTube, or where did you explore first?
I first actually looked at Twitter to explore social media, and then gradually went on to Facebook and then Google Plus actually, and then from Google Plus, I did create a YouTube account, and my YouTube account transitioned from just figuring out how to use YouTube to live streaming my church.
Mm-hmm. So you started getting into it for yourself. Did someone at the church ask you, "Hey, Alfredo, you have this knowledge. Can you help us out?" Or did you just volunteer? Or
I volunteered. The youth pastor, especially, was looking through avenues of how to um, expand the reach of the church using social media. So I kind of took a look at his example and let the church know. I think a year ago that hey, we're exploring. I'm exploring ways to help broadcast the church outside the four walls, and this is what I need, and so far they just said go ahead. They gave me the two thumbs up, and I've been broadcasting for about a year now. But I've been learning this technology for a while and just kind of fine tuning it each time, and you learn a little bit of tricks here and there just to make it um, more watchable. But again, there's always room for improvement, and it just takes time to do it.
Yeah. I'd like for you, if you don't mind, to describe your church because it looks like the ideal church to me. A lot of churches here have, not just in Durham, have this huge problem where the people attending the church are either little tiny youngsters and then elderly. There's not much in between. But I've noticed that you have a lot of a very, very wide range of ages at your church. It seems ideal. You have a lot of really fun activities.
Yeah, today after church, the thing that's interesting because it's the summer months, we had a water kind of water event in front of the church lawn. So the kids were playing water games,
You mean like
and
slip and slide, or you
slip
mean
and
water gun?
they had slip and slide. They had those pool tubes where you can
Yeah.
pull and then it sucks up water and then you shoot it at each other.
Oh yeah, those are
And
fun.
we had also two little kiddie pools for the little ones to kind of just waddle in. So today we had a fun activity and just a couple of also some of the teenagers and young adults. They're going up to camp to Angeles Crest Christian Camp for a week.
Nice.
So they're going to drive up the mountains and learn how to be better Christians on top of a mountain, and then hopefully we'll see them back safely home. And that's for the young kids and the young adults. For the elderly and the more seasoned folks, we do have Bible studies on Wednesday nights, and also there's also Bible studies during Sunday morning. And it's there's always a place for the parishioners, like you said, to come to church and study the Word of God and enjoy each other's fellowship.
Nice. Now, one thing about Russell. Now, I don't attend Russell. I don't want to make it seem. I'm not going to be false. Make it seem. Oh yeah, Russell's my church, but it is my church. My family founded it, so I consider it my church, even though I don't attend. But one thing I'm very proud of is that on Sundays, real early in the morning, they feed people from the shelter. They give them a real breakfast, not just sweet rolls and milk. I mean, a real solid breakfast. And then, of course, they invite them to stay for church service. Most of them don't, but some of them do, and some of them have actually joined the church. And I wonder what kind of impact on the community has your church had?
Well, there's a couple of things we do for the community. Every second Saturday of the month, we have what's called a food and clothes giveaway. And we give free food and clothes to people who come in and say, hey, I need food and clothes. And that's one of the impacts that we do for the community is that we give free food and clothes. Another sort of event that kind of turned into an outreach is a men's breakfast. The
Mm-hmm.
church elder started men's breakfast a couple of years back, and then the reason why he started it was he wanted the men of the church to kind of have fellowship and gather on Friday mornings so that they could just fellowship on Fridays. But it later transitioned to an outreach program where every Friday morning between 6 and 9, if people want a breakfast meal, they can come to our church and they get fed breakfast, eggs,
Nice.
a bacon, grits, hash browns. So that's Friday morning breakfast, but it's still called men's breakfast. But that's one of the things they do to reach out to the community. There's other activities right now, but my mind is going blank. But those are the two I know
Yeah,
is
yeah.
that are um, that are active that
Mm-hmm.
I know about.
And what's the how large is your congregation at Southside?
The congregation is around 200 people.
Mm-hmm.
The not sure the exact number, but it's about 200 members.
Okay. So let's get to your quest for broadcasting your church's service. Now, one thing I want to ask you is why didn't you do it the easy way, which is Periscope, or actually Facebook Live was probably not hadn't come out yet. But I consider Periscope like super easy. And if you don't know what that is, folks, that is an app that you can use with your smartphone. You simply, you get the app and then you just hold your camera out and, broadcast whatever it is that you're seeing to the world. And it's very simple. So you're going through a lot of hardware and software developments. How come you just didn't do the simple Periscope?
We did explore Periscope, but I think there wasn't that many viewers that was watching our Periscopes.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. I think we were only broadcasting the choir singing versus the entire sermon. So we did explore Periscope. If you need a quick and easy way to broadcast your church, Periscope is a good option.
Yeah.
And then later on, the Facebook Live did launch right after YouTube Live, and we're actually doing two. The youth pastor uses his phone to broadcast to Facebook Live,
Mm-hmm.
and what I do is I broadcast to YouTube. So we're kind of tackling both ends.
Nice.
And what he's noticed that is there's a lot more engagement on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
but on YouTube we use it more as a archiving way of getting the sermons out there.
That's
And
really smart because then people can. It's hard to find videos on Facebook. Much easier to find them on YouTube. So it's really smart that you're doing it both ways. And in fact, if the audience doesn't mind my saying so, when you do broadcast on Facebook Live, there's a huge difference between Facebook Live and Periscope. The technique is exactly the same. You open the app and you hold up your camera and there you go. But I've discovered that with Facebook Live, you're mostly encountering people you already know, which is great. With Periscope, it all depends on what you want. With Periscope, you're broadcasting to the world on Facebook too, but you're more likely on Periscope to not only encounter your, people you know, but a lot more people that you don't know. For some people, it's a problem. There are some mean people out there saying mean things, but it is a nice way to contact people from literally around the world. It's very exciting.
What I use Facebook for is more of getting sermon clips, for example. I think
Okay.
last week I clipped maybe 10 to 15 minutes of last week's sermon. I think I made 2 clips and I just shared it out on Facebook. On Facebook, I just let people know, hey, come to our website to see the full sermon. So that's one way I use Facebook. The youth pastor, I know because he has a mobile device, is able to capture a little bit more parts of the church. Because when I use YouTube Live, it's only set in the sanctuary, and
Okay.
and I actually broadcast from a computer and have access to hardware. But again, my broadcasting is only limited to just what's inside the sanctuary. But with a phone, even though it's less equipment, it's easier to use. You can broadcast almost anywhere with internet access, or you can use just your regular data. So you have a choice between having it being more mobile and accessible versus being static and stable. So
Gotcha. So, have you noticed anyone, contacting you saying, "Hey, we want to join your church, or we enjoy your services
we
online"?
we did get visitors that said, "Hey, we saw your broadcast online," and they actually came to visit our church because of those broadcasts.
Nice. Okay.
So we do get a few visitors that come because of of what they saw. That we actually had, I remember someone from Texas actually is watching. So they're watching our service from Texas, and we're based in California. And
Wow.
and I did get a chance to meet this person too, because um, she reached out via email saying, "Hey, this is a great service," but she didn't tell me who she was until I met
Mhm.
her. so so uh, so the people from Texas are watching our services, even though we're based out in California.
That's really great. Now, I hope the audience doesn't mind if I ask you some of the technical aspects, like what are you using? I know that you were struggling with getting like different cameras and computers. Just tell us a little bit of how you've developed what you're doing. I know you started real modest with an old camera, right?
Right. When I first actually was exploring broadcasting for the church, I used Google Hangouts. And the first time I actually attempted a full-fledged 2-hour broadcast was in 2013. And we were still using a standard definition, what's it called, a Canon XL2. And
Okay.
and and from there, we're still using the same camera. It's just going into a different input. So a Canon XL2, it shoots in standard definition, but the reason why we got that camera is because it can capture in low light, because
Oh, that's real important. Yeah.
the sanctuary isn't uh, it's not fairly lit too well with really bright lights. So with that camera, when we purchased it, we were looking to capture it under low light.
Okay.
Um, at the time in 2013, when I broadcasted to YouTube Live, or actually Google Hangouts at the time, uh, I was using my own personal machine, which was a Dell quad core. That was back in 2013, yes.
What's
And
that? A laptop?
it was a desktop, a physical desktop,
Okay.
and that's what I used to broadcast initially. And then after a few years, when the church decided to upgrade their hardware, we actually are using an HP i3 machine to broadcast from.
Okay.
And we after I figured out what encoder to use, which is OBS, Open Broadcasting System.
Uh-oh, you just got technical.
Okay,
Tell us what an
the
encoder is.
an encoder is a piece of software that allows you to um, take audio and video, convert it into something digital, and then broadcast it to a platform like YouTube Live or Facebook or Periscope. So
Nice.
the encoder helps you take your current hardware, which is, for example, the camera I'm using, and just allow you to convert the video and audio to something the software can use so that it can broadcast to other platforms.
Nice. So what are you using now? You said the HP.
It's an HP i3 machine. It's
Okay.
it, I think it's around a 3 gigahertz machine,
So that's a
and
laptop? Is that a laptop?
it's still a desktop. It's still a
Okay.
desktop.
Okay. Okay.
I did attempt to use my laptop, my personal laptop, to broadcast a Saturday morning Bible study using Google Hangouts at the time, and it came out pretty well. It just took me 20 minutes to prepare because I was actually using the laptop as the camera, but had a desktop separate as the machine that was being the encoder.
Okay.
So
So how do you know about all this? Are you studying this, or is it trial and error, or are you watching YouTube videos to
a
teach
lot
you
of it
how?
is a lot of it is trial and error. There are some YouTube videos that give you advice on how to go about doing this. But I think when Google introduced Google Hangouts and Hangouts on Air, it got me interested in live streaming,
Hmm.
and not just content of my own, but of the church. So I initially was attracted by it because of Google and using Google Hangouts, and I think what they now call it Hangouts on Air, that allows us to stream from what we see now to YouTube.
Okay. Let me ask you about what happened today. You said that there was a bit of a glitch because the little kids were singing and the proud parents whipped out their what do you call smartphones and started, of course, capturing, broadcasting whatever, and you lost your signal, right? Isn't that how
Right.
it happened? Yeah.
Yeah, it happened before, like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and sometimes you just don't get a strong enough internet connection, and your stream would die. So the workaround for that is when that happens, you just have to stop the machine that's doing the streaming,
Hmm.
go to the physical routers and just restart them physically,
Yeah.
and then start to stream again to get that connection going. Because when everyone jumps on the internet to stream, the bandwidth for the internet just drops. So
That's why
um,
when I interview people, I tell them to, and this is just, I'm just letting people know this is how it works. I always ask my guests to have everyone in the household to shut down their computers so that they can use all the bandwidth for themselves, so they can look good and sound good. If everybody is on, that can disrupt the signal, and it can lessen the quality, which is what happened. Would it have been rude for you to have a sign up saying, "Please, proud parents, do not broadcast from the church"?
um, I didn't make that rule of saying please stay off the bandwidth when we're streaming, because we're there to worship God, and having internet access is just a benefit for just being a member. So there's no written rule that says you can't broadcast when I'm streaming, because we're just there to worship God. And if the stream dies because everyone's on the internet, it's okay. It's part of being a live streamer. Is your internet bandwidth is precious to you, but at the same time, if it's not mission critical, meaning that you have to do it because it's business uh, related, then it's okay.
You are
We're
right, because after all, they're proud parents, so, and they want to film their kid. So I mean, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely. Yeah, I guess you'd actually be kind of egotistical if you felt that what you were doing is more important or the most important thing going on in the church. So you're right. Hats off to you, Alfredo. You're absolutely right.
so let's see what else. We did capture a few of the kids singing, so it was a bit of what they were doing, and then I made a slight error in judgment as adjusting the volume. I had the what's called the encoder set to a certain like decibel,
Hmm.
minus 10 decibels, and then when I tried to make it so that it's slightly higher, I listened to the playback, and I'm going, oh, I should have done that. I just should have kept it
Oh, okay. It was
at
distorted.
yeah, the sound got distorted. I should have kept it at the way it was.
Yeah.
So when you're
Like you said, trial and error, right?
right, when you have it set, and you have a nice setting so that you get a good clear volume, it's kind of a risk to try to adjust on the fly when you think, okay, let me just see what happens.
Yeah.
So a little lesson there for me is just once I got it set to a good volume, just don't change it.
And just leave it. I like your church. I've seen several of your broadcasts, and I really hope that more people will get to watch Southside. What's the full name of your church? I'm just saying Southside. What is it?
It's called Inglewood Southside Christian Church, and
Okay,
that's the
Inglewood
full
Southside
name.
Christian Church. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do hope that more people can watch, and I really hope that you get to the point where you can become like a consultant to other churches.
And a few churches actually reached out to me via Facebook. One actually in Honduras said, "How do you go about doing this?" And
Honduras.
Honduras, yes. I told him, if you want to go computer route, this is what you have to do. But he wanted to keep it simple and just broadcast from a phone. So he's actually broadcasting from a phone currently, I've seen some of his broadcasts. It's not as up close as I wanted because it's a little farther back.
Yeah.
But he did what I did, the trial and error. He tested it out, make
Mhm.
sure that it was a nice, steady stream, and then as soon as he got the technology he wanted, he put it into the sanctuary and broadcast his church service.
Nice.
So, you know,
Now, your church has your camera affixed in one spot, like on the ceiling or something, isn't it? It's in a pretty
the
good spot.
the camera is really farther back, close to where the sound booth is, and it's on top of a very heavy duty tripod. So it's a manual camera, and it just sits on top of the computer screen. So the tripod is actually on top of this computer screen, and then the camera is right above us so that we could move it around.
Okay.
So it looks like it's high up. It's just the tripod is makes the camera higher, kind of above everyone's heads. So
Now I've noticed you're learning some tricks of the trade. I've noticed you have like what do you call it with the crawl with the moving letters going across the screen with announcements. I like that.
um, yes, that was actually a tip that I got from one of our work and focus people, Robert Lewis. He said, "Hey, put this there." I'm like, okay. And he gave me that tip, and I just put the contact information to the church, the Facebook information, the Twitter information, their phone number, emails, and even the hashtag Southside Sunday to help people reach out to us via social media saying, "Hey, we like this."
Nice.
So
And actually, I stole your idea, and I have a crawl on my website, the Durham Skywriter, on the Let's Go page. I actually saw what you were doing, and I said, I think I can find an app, not an app, what's the word? Widget that can allow me to do that. So I actually have a little crawl going across my page
mm,
with my contact information. So thank you for that.
no problem.
So, what are your goals? This is my last question. What's your goal? Do you plan to eventually cover your church like how can I put this? Like with meetings and the events and the scouts and all that sort of thing. Do you intend to really go whole hog and interview kids and have the pastor make announcements and that sort of thing?
Um, well, as far as what I want to do with the church live stream, it depends on the needs of the church. If they need something that we could use the platform for to kind of share with family members, like, hi, please share. I could do that. Again, it's just letting the members. One of the things I forgot to do was, even though I'm broadcasting it out on Facebook Live or YouTube Live, and try to share it out in the social media channels, I have to let the members know that, hey, did you guys know we stream our services? And
Oh, definitely,
and
so they can watch it when they get home.
right.
Share it
and
with their families.
and today, when the youth pastor was the speaker today, he kind of thanked, hey, Alfredo, thanks for using the internet to do the right thing and to share the gospel. And it's again, it just depends on what the church wants to do with this technology, because I've only used it for about a year for them. And as far as creating content for the certain announcements, they haven't taken that route yet. But it is possible that we could actually say, hey, we could advertise this certain event using this method. But it's just what they want to do.
Yeah. Here's what I suggest. Do you have access to Roku or Apple TV?
No, I don't have access to that.
Okay, but I will just kind of describe what I'm going to say. There are okay. What some people might not even know what Roku is. Roku is a little device. It's like a hockey puck sized device. You connect it. You can only use it if you have Wi-Fi. You connect it to your TV, And if you're like me and you don't have cable TV and you're tired of paying for cable TV, you buy this one-time Roku device, and then you can choose free stations or paid stations. I only choose free stations to watch. Some of the, I say stations, I meant channels, sorry. Channels are actually put together by everyday people like you and me. And there are actual churches that have their own channels. That's why I asked that, Alfredo, because I'm actually envisioning you eventually getting your own channel because you're so good at what you do. And I'd really like to see you expand like that. Unfortunately, if you don't have access to Roku, you really don't know what I'm talking about. But there are some churches, they have their Sunday services, and then they have special broadcasting like Bible verses and Bible study and that sort of thing. So, I mean, you could really, really do something with this, with what you're doing, Alfredo. I really like what you're doing, the direction you're going in. So check out Roku if you can. If you know anybody with Roku, check it out, Alfredo.
Okay.
Absolutely. So any shout outs before we go? Shout outs to your family or church?
Just like to thank my family for supporting me for what I do. I also like to thank the church for seeing my skills used to help broadcast their services. I'd like to thank them. I'd like to thank the Work and Focus people for encouraging me to improve my my live streaming. I know we didn't mention this, but we are. I don't know if we're doing a 31 days live challenge from
Yes. Yes.
another Facebook group called Live Talk Nation,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd like to thank them to get me not to be nervous in front of the camera. So
Right. And that's Jonathan Tripp and David Vaughn.
yes, Jonathan Tripp and David Vaughn. And when they issued that challenge, I kind of was kind of late, but when I started doing the challenge, I realized how comfortable now I'm in front of the camera. So a lot of times I was like, what am I gonna say? What am I gonna say? But as soon as you know what you're passionate about and you want to talk about it, you can talk it to as much as you want here. I mean, the church has been there supportive for me as far as what I've done throughout my career and my worship, and just so many people to thank. So the church, the family, Live Talk Nation, Working Focus, 31 Days Live. A lot of people I want to thank for just encouraging me to go live. So
Absolutely. And of course, I mentioned our friends. I didn't mention the name of our group. It is Work and Focus on Facebook. So shout outs to everyone. And that is Eileen and Pam. I guess I should say their last names. Eileen Smith. I'm so bad with last names. Pam
Gomez,
Gomez.
Yeah.
Robert Lewis. Fraser Ramsey, and Terry. I'm so
Johnson.
bad with last names. Terry Johnson. Thank you. I am so bad with names, with last names. So I hope I named just about everyone. I hope I didn't leave anybody out. If I did, please excuse me. But anyway, so I'm going to sign off now. Alfredo, thank you so much for being on the show. I wanted people to see what's possible for houses of worship. You can go beyond your four walls and broadcast to the world. And hopefully, like I said, Alfredo, I hope that you eventually get like a channel of some kind on Roku and or Apple TV and really blow your church's work up. Seriously. Because I like your church. I like it a lot.
Okay.
All righty. Okay, folks. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of TV Skywriter. And if you'd like to be a guest, obviously you don't have to be in Durham. Alfredo is actually in Inglewood, California. So you can be a guest. All you have to do is contact me on Twitter at Durham Skywriter. That happens to be the name of the community online newspaper that I publish for the Durham Skywriter. That's durhamskywriter.com. So be sure to read the Durham Skywriter. In fact, it's a really fun, all positive online community newspaper. So I do hope that if you want to be on my show, that we can talk about it and I can get you on. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I will see you next week. Ciao for now, and thanks again, Alfredo. Have a beautiful evening.